Hello and welcome to the Madecast, the official podcast of the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment, a series of lectures and interviews on video game history as part of the Made's ongoing effort to preserve history through teaching and displaying playable exhibits of rare games and consoles.
While life in a time of COVID has forced us to close our doors, the support of people like you has allowed us to continue to bring history to you through lectures like the one you'll hear in a few minutes. This is Anthony speaking.
I'm Miles.
And this is Alex. This is Red, rather. Alex, you'll hear from in just a few minutes because today we have something a little special. We have Alex chatting with two of our oldest volunteers at the Made, Anders Scheivel and Chris Wolf. They're going to talk about their history with the Made and some of their great memories that they have with it and just all the fun things that they remember talking about. They get into a little bit of the PT exhibit that we had on display for a while, some of the other memorable exhibits, and talking about GDC, just a bunch of different memories that they've had with the Made and what it was like. But before that, we need to get into a little bit of news, and for something that I don't think Anthony or I are very familiar with, Miles is gonna talk to us about some Crysis news.
So, Crysis Remastered was announced, I think, earlier this year or late last year. There was some announcement about Crysis 1 getting a remaster. And now we've heard that Crysis 2 and 3 are also getting remastered, and it's going to be a package deal that's going to be available later this year. So, fall of 2021.
So, Crysis 2 and 3 is a package deal, or Crysis 1, 2, and 3 is a package deal?
1, 2, and 3. It's just going to be a whole trilogy.
Wow.
So,
are they played different servers?
Did it have multiplayer?
Oh. See, that's how much I know about Crysis.
It might have had multiplayer. I don't remember. I'd never played it. Crysis 1, I think, was by far the best one, and even then, it was kind of the first half that was really enjoyable.
Okay.
Crysis is basically you're a super soldier in a suit of power armor with space powers. And in the first half of the first game, you're fighting North Koreans who have taken over an island, and you have to rescue some hostages. Spoilers, then aliens show up.
Of course.
And the next two games... And the next two games just go bonkers from there. You're in New York, and it's post-apocalyptic, and then it's like jungle New York. It's wild.
Hey, I'm shooting over here.
We got all these vines over here. What are we going to do with all these vines?
But no, I have very fond memories of the first one. I played the second one a couple years ago, and I enjoyed it. It was not as amazing because it wasn't as... sort of open worldy.
Okay.
But the Crysis' real claim to fame, and I think why everyone so remembers it so well, is because it was a graphics hog.
Yeah.
The meme for a long time was, could your computer run Crysis?
Yeah.
And it lives up to that reputation. It is a gorgeous game to this day. Crysis 3 was absolutely spectacular to look at, and I'm very interested to see what they do with the remaster. I know that they're bringing it up to 4K. I don't know what other graphical improvements will be beyond that, and I'm looking forward to finding out.
4K TV LED Explosion Edition. Can your pixel handle all the pixel power of Crysis? Pixels on the television, not your phone. That would be insane. I mean, people have ported Doom to
Literally anything
Samsung
that has a computer.
Refrigerators, to home security displays. People got Doom running on a TI-84 calculator, which is pretty sweet.
That's pretty good.
But as far as that, we got Valorant news also as well. Valorant's going to hit a 1-year anniversary, and with about 14 million players, and we're going to get a phone version coming soon. Soon, how soon, you may ask?
Soon TM.
Soon
It's Riot
enough.
Games. We'll find out.
Yes. because in other news of soon, God of War 4, well, not 4, but God of War Ragnarok got delayed until 2022, which we kind of saw coming. But I'm glad that they're taking some time with it, because if you haven't seen the initial interview or the documentary covering it, the production of the first PS4 God of War, I do recommend it. It is a insight into how crazy developing a game that size can be. But I think it's time for us to move on, and we're going to throw it over to Alex and Anders and Chris for some lovely talks about their time volunteering at the Maid. So here they are.
Hello, and welcome back to the Maids podcast. This is Alex Handy here, and I've got two of the Maids' oldest volunteers, Anders Scheibel and Chris Wolf. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hey there.
I was just going to let you guys talk about your history at the Maid, how you found it, and what you've enjoyed, what you've done, and some of your memories of it. So, like, Chris, you arrived first, so why don't you start?
All right. Going first, I first got clued in that there was a place with video games in the local area when I was living in the area not too far from the Maid's first open space, and one of my neighbors in the building who worked in the same building came by and saw me in passing and went, "Hey, there's this place. They have a bunch of old classic consoles." And I started going there at least once or twice a week, and OCD started kicking in, and just impulsively I started alphabetizing and organizing things on the shelves to make sure A was next to B, Q was next to R, and just almost impulsively, just as a means of organizing things, I started alphabetizing the shelves.
And the Japanese stuff, too.
That's right. I did spend a year in Japan during my time in college, so I started learning Japanese. So I began alphabetizing all the Japanese games too.
Excellent. Anders?
So my first encounter with Maid was technically at GDC, I think 2014, and where they were doing the John Romero, Can You Beat John Romero at Doom exhibit, which I don't think anybody could. But my first time actually like visiting the Maid was when I was searching for a logo being used by Other Ocean at the time, that just had like the port, like the what are the port, like cargo lifts from the Oakland port on it with that said "Made in Oakland." So I was searching for that.
The things that the AT-ATs from the Star Wars series were based off.
Yeah.
The cranes.
Yeah, the cranes.
Yeah.
And so I was looking up that logo, and then I discovered that the Maid was about 5 minutes away from me, and it was like Saturday afternoon, and I was like, oh, okay, I just want to go over and see what they're about. And they were actually, it was just after GDC, so they were still like reorganizing and doing stuff, so I just showed up and started helping out that day.
Yeah, we put you right to work.
Yeah, and then I've kind of just been doing odd things ever since, from running tournaments to creating exhibits to running the front desk.
Why don't you guys tell us some of your favorite memories? I mean, GDC is a good place to start. What are some of your favorite memories of GDC and the Maid exhibits and all the incredible amount of work those exhibits take?
You want to go first?
It's not entirely GDC related. It's largely just peripheral exhibitions. But I do remember, like right as the Pacific Coast Brewery was closing down a few years ago, one of the staples of the old Oakland area.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, rent just got way too high for a place like Pacific Coast Brewery. But they had like a throwback night to one of their opening nights in the 1980s. So what says 80s much more than an NES system. So so they reached out to us, and in addition to rolling back all their prices on food and drinks all the way back to 1987, they also brought in some games from 1987, and they reached out to us. We brought over some NES consoles, and people were having fun, drinking some pints and playing Super Mario 3.
Oh yeah, they fed us. That was a big highlight. The free food.
Kind of a local tradition, feeding people who supply you.
Yeah. Anders?
Let's see. GDC stories. I mean.
Well, I mean, do you remember loading in all the damn televisions? I mean, there's nothing like taking 28-inch solid steel Sony television CRTs and setting them up at GDC. Remember all that work?
Yeah, so I think we've done GDC twice for the Maid at this point. Let's see. The second time I was driving the truck, I brought myself into the down through the the tunnels underneath the convention center.
The underground loading dock.
Yeah. That was really fun to see, like all of the underground, the tunnels, and just like how there's like this entire like background area to the convention center, the
Moscone Convention Center.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Did they make you back up to the loading dock, or did you have to actually drive the truck up onto the loading dock? Because we used to drive the car literally just a ramp onto the loading dock.
It was crazy. We had to actually drive it onto the floor.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because, that's just like how they had to unload it at the time. So it was like had to go through the tunnels and then into this big open door that is normally closed because you're not supposed to see that, like, giant, like, just loop for all the cars, and drove the truck right onto the like floor, unloaded it, and then backed it out. And
we should probably take a second to explain to people. We're talking about the Game Developers Conference. Why were you at the Game Developers Conference the first time before you met us, Anders?
Oh, I was computer science game design major, so I was there just giving my resumes out because I was living in Oakland, so it was only like BART right away.
And UC Santa Cruz, right?
Yeah.
We love that program. And Wolf, when you talk about your background for a second, when you were in Japan for that year, you studied a few interesting things, didn't you?
Yes, I did. It was always a dream of mine, like most anime nerds, to actually go to Japan, but I made it a point not to go over there just for the sake of learning about games and anime. Like, I wanted to know the language, the history, the art, the culture, like the stuff behind the fads of what's popular this year. I wanted like the more nuanced and longer lasting study related matters. But like I went over there, but the big huge thing that I really got a big kick out of was like the not only going to the metro areas like Nagoya, Osaka, and of course all the different wards of Tokyo, but also going up through, like taking local trains up to the mountains and in the country, and just seeing all the Japan that the foreigners usually don't happen to see that often.
Nice. It sounds like quite an adventure.
Yeah.
And speaking of adventures, I'm just trying to think of some memories I had of the both of you. I remember specifically, Wolf, you wearing your waiter's outfits to serve drinks at various events.
Yeah.
Always bartender. And Anders, you in the fighting tournaments you mentioned there, absolutely like that, and running the front desk. Fine. Do you have any interesting stories of people coming in and seeing the place for the first time?
I mean, people are usually just flabbergasted to see that the place exists and like our huge collection of games. I mean, I've had weird guests at times. Like one time I had a guy coming off the street and just was like super hyped for everything that was in there, and then, well, let's just say he was more excited than a person normally should be.
Yeah.
Having a little manic episode, maybe.
Or it was late at night.
Yeah.
Alright.
Had to escort that gentleman out. Fortunately,
Probably too excited for anyone's good, especially his own.
yeah.
Oh, that's difficult. I know. It's always interesting when you open the doors to the streets of a city. You see who walks in. We were just talking about the center for the Warriors showing up and running out real quick, just looking. He had to duck just to get in the door. But do you have any memories of maybe bringing somebody to the museum for the first time and just walking them through? And
I did actually bring someone into the museum, and I think it might have been a college friend of mine, and I told him about this place several times, and he was very, very interested in coming by and seeing it. And he had a background in theater techniques, like
neat.
stage technic work. And the thing about tech workers, especially theater tech workers, they are just the biggest nerds you could possibly imagine.
no, of course.
And bringing him to this place with almost every video game under the sun, he almost immediately, almost the first words out of his mouth were, "What is this magical wonderland?"
That's the reaction that we enjoy most, I think.
Yeah.
Anders, what was the tournament you mentioned before? What was the first tournament we ran? Was that Smash or was that Street Fighter V or?
I'm not sure I was there for really the first tournament. I mostly remember running, I believe it was Smash tournaments, mostly Melee and 4, which is the one from the Wii U.
Yeah, those were always huge. The Melee.
Oh yeah, Melee definitely spiraled into a pretty big scene. It was very consistently, people came by a lot for that one. We had like side tournaments for even like the bigger tournament like Genesis, which is
when Plup showed up, right?
yeah, like we would host the Smash Melee side tournament for Genesis, or I think I think that one was maybe Project M because it's a mod, and so they didn't. And Nintendo has problems with that.
That was so. Yes, but either way, Plup came in and just rolled the entire floor. Like there was no competition that night. But everybody wanted to play against him, right? Like
I remember something happening, little anecdote story with the Smash crowd. I think one of the younger players, they were asking about playing the earliest Smash game. And they didn't realize that there was a Smash Brothers game for the Nintendo 64.
Oh yeah.
They thought that Smash was almost exclusively a GameCube title.
I remember there were some kids there was one kid at least. He was not old enough to have even been alive when Melee shipped, but he showed up and he was like really excited to play and meet all the guys, and they were very welcoming. It's always a really good group, the Smash players. They're not. Yeah. Despite beating the crap out of each other in a video game, they're very nice people. They're not very. Yeah. They're not so.
There was a webcomic somewhere where it was demonstrating the difference between two different groups of people: the Sony and Xbox folks who wait outside in line for hours at a time, and the Sony and Xbox ones are like, back of the line, we were here first. Or they were like, they're all sold out, get lost.
Yeah.
And the GameCube ones who waited outside for hours at a time were like, we're so sorry, they're all out. Can we give you a hug? Can we help make you feel better?
It's a totally different community. And the thing that seems so rare in that community actually is the controllers. Do they make new ones yet? Finally, are they making GameCube controllers?
I think every time they release a Smash Brothers game, they make a new controller. They re-release it. I'm not sure if they consistently make them in Japan, because I remember for a couple years there was like you could always import a Japanese Nintendo controller that was specifically made for Smash Brothers. That I think even had like the longer cables.
Wow.
And it was white and had the logo on it, and it was specifically made for Smash Brothers for years.
And it's phenomenal that that's the game that really became the most popular. You would think something like a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat would create the community. But I guess it makes sense. Nintendo's really good at creating communities, whether through that or Pokemon Go, or those games just endear people to them.
I think the more hardcore fighting games, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, they tend to have a bigger following for the cabinet versions, like the arcade versions. But as far as consoles go, Smash definitely is the title holder for that crowd.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think it's a lot of just the fact that it is a bunch of Nintendo characters, and now also like every other video game character
Sonic
being
Snake.
added in that makes it so popular. Because if you find, like, I think a lot of the other fighting games that have really broken through to a larger scale are the ones that have like Marvel characters or DC characters or Dragon Ball Z characters. Like Dragon Ball Fighters was a huge like crossover hit within all the fighting game communities. Like you'd see Smash players, Street Fighter players, Marvel 3 players all coming and playing that game.
Oh yeah, we should have done that.
Weird spitball idea, but introducing the cast of characters from the Danganronpa series into a fighting game.
Well,
I mean,
now you're going into anime, and I'm going to have to step back. If you want to talk about anime, go right ahead. But I have to check out on that discussion.
I know. Well, close to almost what BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle was. They actually had characters from like Ruby and BlazBlue and some other crazy ones. Like there's just this one character that's just like a tank with a skull on it, and I'm like constantly confused by that existence of that character. But then again, there's also just like Tatsunoko versus Capcom, which just features a giant golden golem.
Is that guy in Street Fighter?
No, because he's a Tatsunoko character.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of
like
that big mummy guy.
Yeah, because like the alternate Capcom character that was like, these were both like, you chose them and only played as them. The alternate one for Capcom was actually the exosuit from Lost Planet. Because Capcom still cared about that at the time.
Well,
I think that didn't they make it Lost Planet 3 or something more recently?
Yeah, they've gone up through 3, but it hasn't really been an enduring franchise.
No, certainly no Mega Man. I don't think anybody would argue against that. But they've been putting out those Resident Evils again. Have you played the new Resident Evils?
I've watched all the way through 8 because it's just not the kind of game I like to play.
Wolf?
I did recently kind of go back and get RE4, but
yeah, that's the best one, I think.
Yeah, it was the one that first introduced me to the Resident Evil series. I kind of backtracked a little bit from 4 to the remake to Veronica X, but after 5, it kind of got a little too action movie rather than thrills and chills horror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they kind of brought that back to 7, and that's like 7 is actually, I think, considered to be the most intense horror Resident Evil game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's actually so intense a lot of fans didn't play it because it leans so heavily into horror because it's pure first person. It's very claustrophobic. You're mostly just running around. Like it has a lot more to do. Like it's way more inspired by like PT or what's the
Silent Hill?
Not quite Silent Hill.
Amnesia?
The Amnesia, The Dark Descent.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But from the videos that I've seen, like you're in a garage and there's some zombie in a car and like you can't get away from it and it's just a tiny room.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, there's just this scene in 7 where like you're in this like the entire premise of 7 is that you're stuck in a house with this insane like zombie family or something, and
kind of sounds like it's taking some strings from Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, it's also very inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Hills Have Eyes. And yeah, so then there's one scene where the father of the family is just like driving a car at you, but you're just stuck in like a garage. So he's just like spinning this car around in circles, trying to hit you with it. That's just like one of the most ridiculous Resident Evil moments I've ever seen, but also like horribly terrifying.
Yeah, well, I mean, zombies should not drive. I think everybody agrees on that.
Yes.
So you can't let zombies drive.
Now, gotta take away their license as soon as they start growling and snarling.
Yeah, I mean, hands at 10 and 2 means those hands have to be attached to your body, please.
Right.
Yeah. So, we did an exhibit with PT. Remember, we set that up with Tyler.
I don't think I was there for that one.
We built with the monolith. Remember the big monolith that was built?
Oh, yeah.
And then
That big giant 2001 slab.
yeah, and we put the PT in there and strung a curtain around it, so when you were playing PT, it would be in the dark. But I think we still have a hard drive with it somewhere.
Almost undoubtedly.
That game made a way bigger splash when they pulled it and got rid of it than it did as a new game. I feel like.
How to make your game a bestseller? Tell players they can't have it.
Right? Then they should. Are they bringing that back or something right now? Or
I haven't heard anything.
oh well, I'm so far out of the loop on the game stuff. I need.
I mean, 8 actually. Yeah, I was watching 8, and it actually features a scene that looks like it's just straight up ripped from PT.
Wow.
They're like, there's like an entire level that's just like it feels like they played PT, and it's like, well, just make that a level in our game.
Nice. Nice.
Just the repeating house over and over again.
Yeah, it's kind of got like it's like there's this like dollhouse with all these corridors and this screaming like deformed fetus running at you.
Oh,
It's
lovely.
Oh God! So now they're taking a page from Eraserhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. No. That you probably noticed that photo on the way in the house, huh? Yeah. So this is why I rely on you guys, because I have no idea what's going on, and you guys are always up to date and know the absolute most important stuff that is going on in the industry. It's nice to have your expertise.
I'm just repeating what I've overheard in passing.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what information is about. I didn't play PT. I rely on what y'all tell me, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to thank you both for your extended service all these years. It's just been it's been ups and downs, but it wouldn't be here without your hard work. So thank you guys.
Of course.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
It also even just volunteering there, it teaches you amazing skills later on. Public speaking, formulating lesson plans, teaching courses. There's a lot of skills you learn.
Absolutely. You've got that whole timeline of the history of games that you've been working on. And that's, I mean, working on that for years now, but we're really going to actually implement that on the wall,
I mean, at this point, I've probably written enough of that thing to publish it.
Well, go ahead.
Why not?
Maybe you should. Anyway, that's all the time we have. So thanks so much, guys.
Of course.
Thank you.
And we're back again. Made is back again.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I gotta change it up a little bit, see if it gets left in.
Nope.
So, thank you, Chris and Anders, for this lovely interview. It was great to hear about all the stories about history of the Maid, and oh man, I also remember having to organize and alphabetize just the thousands of game cases on our walls.
Ooh.
We had like bookshelves of game cases, and then it would be funny because we would have them organized, and then you'd pull the front row off, and then there's a whole another row behind them of just more game cases of games that we have in the massive binders. Hopefully soon enough we will be open again, and we'll be able to showcase everything to all of you. And we'll also I do want to say, if you guys also want to volunteer, please also do another, shoot an email at info@themaid.org. We would also always love more volunteers. Just tell us what you're good at and what you think you might be able to do, and we'll see what we can do for you. Mm-hmm. But we also want to talk about what we have been playing recently. Anything new that's been going on?
Well, I've been playing, I think I talked about this last week. I've been playing Deus Ex. Human Revolution, which came out in 2012. Mm-hmm. And it's funny thinking about it now, but it's basically Cyberpunk before Cyberpunk was Cyberpunk.
Yep.
It's all about robot people and sort of human computer interfaces and hacking and stealth and lots of gunplay. A bit much for a stealth game for me. I consider Deus Ex a stealth game, but it very leans heavily into, hey, you have to fight things sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it works out to some benefit sometimes, but it is a bit rough when a stealth game does go kind of gun heavy.
But no, it's fun. I like the story. I like the character. It's
Awesome.
the
Did you play Deus Ex Machina?
the original one.
Yes.
No, and I'm going to go back to it at some point because my impression is that this game is leaning very heavily on sort of the story and mechanics of that game. Like it's going to be streamlined for a new generation, but I'm interested to see sort of what carries over between the two games.
Okay. Alrighty. It was an intro to the new upgraded generation. And I still can't believe that. I remember the commercials for that game, and now it's been almost 9 years since its release. How time flies. I haven't been playing much recently. I've been thinking about playing a lot of games. I have a flight to go on to. I'm probably going to pick up a Switch and Breath of the Wild and Monster Hunter Rise and connect my Hades account to my Switch once I get it. So we'll see. I'll report back once I start playing something else in the future.
Speaking of mobile, I've been playing more mobile games. PlayStation Vita. I've been playing the Uncharted Golden Abyss game. It's sort of one of the flagship titles for the PS Vita.
How is it? How does it compare to like a typical Uncharted experience?
The developers, they really utilize the PS Vita's touch screen mechanics as well as the back touch sensor. So a lot of commands you have to sort of swipe like in the diagonal direction or up. Like when you're fighting a guy, you have to dodge him, so you swipe on your screen to dodge, and they utilize the mechanics of that really well. But yeah, it's sort of like an Uncharted experience on a handheld, it feels great.
Interesting.
Awesome. I loved the stories in Uncharted were kind of how I wanted Uncharted is how I wanted every single Indiana Jones game to turn out like. Just the mystery, the ancient, magic conspiracies of ancient, like Atlantis type stuff and El Dorado, all these mythical places and all these old stories. I love it. Uncharted is a fantastic game.
Well, we'll see because we are getting a Indiana Jones game at some point. I remember they teased it late last year.
But that one, this is the one where they've like taken pages. It's like, well, Tomb Raider is going well, and so is everything else. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Well, but I also, knowing games, can't keep my hopes up too high. But I think it's okay. All right. But I think it's time for us to get out of here. Unfortunately, we want to keep talking to y'all, but we have time constraints and schedules and other things to go do. We want to thank you for listening to the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment's official podcast. If you've got any thoughts, questions, corrections, or general museum ideas, shoot us an email at info@themade.org.
We'd like to send a big thank you to everyone who donated recently and to our Patreon supporters who keep the Made afloat. Patreon donors get to listen to this podcast 1 week before it's released on major streaming services, and we'll continue that with future episodes every week. Till then, I'm Anthony.
I'm Red.
And I'm Miles. Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.
See you next time.
See ya.
Later, gamers.